All right, let's get into it with the two-time Super Bowl champ Bryant McFadden and CBS NFL analyst Ryan Wilson. Guys, got to ask the question, the same question that was posed to Brandon Staley after scoring that touchdown. Do you go for the win? Do you play for the tie? Staley's answer is always obvious here, and the ends do justify the means. Ryan Wilson, what'd you make of the decision?
I love it. And I know, I talked to BMAC this offseason about Brandon Staley being a little too aggressive last season, and sometimes it would blow up in his face. But I felt like he went in the exact opposite direction for much of this season. And some of that's injury, some of that struggles with the running game, not having all those players along the offensive line, not having all the skill position players, on and on and on. But I like the idea of going for it here. They're a much better team on paper than the Cardinals, even though the Chargers are banged up. They didn't have Mike Williams. Keenan Allen played a much bigger role. But they didn't get Austin Eckler in that run game going. So Justin Herbert, who did everything else that you laid out there, Joe, also led the Chargers in rushing. And you mentioned that route at the end of that little option route by Gerald Everett. Great play, wide open. Isaiah Simmons was playing what he thought was probably a flatter corner, and it worked out. That it felt like a handoff. And I think that's what has been missing from this offense in terms of consistency. They haven't scored a third-quarter touchdown in 6 games now. They were able to rally at the end here. A big drive by their go-to guy, Justin Herbert, who, again, feels like he's playing as one of the best young quarterbacks in the NFL, and they're going to need him down the stretch, especially in the AFC West.
In regards to the 2-point opportunity, no, I don't have an issue because that's who their head coach is, Brandon Staley. He's a guy that does not mind rolling the dice at any given time, and he's consistent in doing so. Also, Ryan, when you talk about going for 2, if you have an ideal play in place for that situation, go ahead and run it. And that play you talk about, motioning the triple strong, had 3 wide receivers on the same side, and basically an F angle route by Gerald Everett was phenomenal. It was well executed. Clearly, the Arizona Cardinals, they did not prepare for that. And because of the lack of preparation, we saw a nice execution from the Chargers. A huge win for the Chargers because, as you mentioned, Ryan, yes, they're more talented than the Arizona Cardinals, but they've been dealing with a lot of injuries, and being 5-5 at this point, playing against a team that clearly has no playoff aspirations, you have to find a way to win. And Justin Herbert showed up tonight in this ball game, especially in the second half, and he found a way to win for his ball club, a much-needed win for the Chargers.
And I think you touched upon something there, BMAC, is finding a way to win is something that the Chargers, this iteration and many before, have really struggled to do. But when you take a look at that final drive here, 7 plays, 38 yards, it was a short field on that touchdown drive, but a week ago it ends in a loss. Herbert really does all he can do against the Chiefs, driving his team down the field there, only to get Pat Mahomes by Pat Mahomes. 10 plays, 64 yards. BMAC, do you get the sense that this is building block on top of building block, and we're seeing a change as this group sort of galvanizes as they do face these moments?
Yeah, no question. I think most importantly, we're starting to see growth offensively with all their key components. You know, not having Mike Williams clearly is a big loss, but just having Keenan Allen in the lineup, Gerald Everett in the lineup. Of course, we didn't see Austin Eckler's best performance today, but he showed up big time in the passing game. So offensively, this was a nice opportunity for them to gel together and find a way to create successful plays. Now, I'll say this. I still have my concerns on the defensive side, guys. I mean, until today's matchup, Arizona could not run the football against anybody. They had no success. Heck, they weren't even trying to run the football because they knew what was going to happen if they attempt. Today, outstanding ground game from the Cardinals. So that's something you need to pay attention to if you're the Chargers and you want to improve instantly, because I believe this is a playoff caliber team based on the talent, especially when they're healthy. But they have any hope of trying to get into the tournament, they have to do a better job on the defensive side, especially against opposing offenses' ground and pound attack.
Exactly right, BMAC. And Bosa missed some time with an injury. And you mentioned the running game for Arizona, which was non-existent up until a couple of minutes ago. James Conner went for 120. That's the first time he went for over 100 yards since the 2020 season, back when he was in Pittsburgh. And Joe, you asked the question to BMAC originally, can we feel good about the Chargers moving forward? I hope so, but we've seen it time and time again where the Chargers were chargered up. And if you look at their schedule, there are 4 wins on that schedule against some pretty mediocre or lesser opponents. But we've seen time and time again, when it gets to be crunch time, they find ways to lose football games. And maybe this is the catalyst for changing that narrative. And they have the players to do it. And a lot of credit to them for playing with men down. DeAndre Carter has stepped up time and time again. A special teamer coming into the season. He led the team in receptions today, making big play after big play. So, look, they have all the players there. They have the coach in Brandon Staley who's capable. They just need to put it together one play after the next. And that's been the issue. You see 5 or 6 plays a game that cost them football games. But as BMAC says, it's less concerned about the offense and more concerned about the defense finding ways to get off the field against a Cardinals team that got Kyler Murray back for the first. He's been missing with several games with a hamstring injury, and they looked much better than they'd looked in recent weeks. So that's a concern. Offense looks good. Defense has to shore itself up.
6-5, no matter how you stack it up, feels a whole lot better than 5-6. 4-8 really doesn't feel good, especially when you had expectations coming into this season the way that the Cardinals did. A thought here on the Cardinals, Ryan, because you mentioned Kyler Murray. His re-addition to this offense obviously unlocks a portion of that playbook that Colt McCoy simply does not, but still the play caller having a hard time dialing up those plays and getting Kyler into those positions where his talent can truly shine. What'd you make of that relationship here on Sunday?
I mean, we talk about it every week, Joe, me, you, and BMAC. At the end of the day, it comes down to the coaching, and the coaching hasn't changed. The last Monday night game in Mexico City, they got their doors blown off by the 49ers, and there were some off-field issues going on with the former offensive line coach, but it always seems to be something. And Colt McCoy, he knows every single play. He's been in the league forever. He can run this offense like no one else. Colt McCoy is also 0-6 in home games. So the reason that Kyler played is because obviously he's the best quarterback, but he was closer to 100% than he had been in recent weeks. And it does feel like on some level that Cliff Kingsbury is holding Kyler back. Is Kyler the perfect student? Probably not, based on the way that contract was structured before they had to get out the video game clause there. But it just doesn't seem to be working. Now, the concern is that Steve Keim, the GM, has a new deal. Cliff Kingsbury has a relatively new deal. And, of course, Kyler has a new deal. So if you're the owner, do you stick with these three for the next 4 or 5 years? Or are you willing to just blow it up and try to start over and take your lumps when you have to pay out these salaries?
We'll see how it plays out in the desert. But for now, Ryan Wilson, Bryant McFadden, stay put. Plenty more to come.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.